Okay, and good day again. So we are down in the part 3 of our discussion with the patterns of development. As I have told you guys, again, we have 10 patterns of development. I was able to discuss 6 on the first two videos. Those are narration, description, definition, process analysis, classification, division, and exemplification. So in this last video, I will be discussing the last 4 patterns of development and we will be done. And we are done already on the patterns of development. So let's start with the first pattern, which is causation, or known as the cause and effect pattern of development. So when we say causation, you just have to take note that if a composition explains a problem and then know the reasons behind that problem, it is automatically causation. Because when we say causation, it tells us why something happened by telling us the reason, the causes, and the effect of those actions. So technically, the paragraph or the compositions are about telling the consequence of a certain reason or action that was made. So again, the controlling idea in the text should only be established a fact and no personal attachment or interpretation, because when we say causation, these are real problems that was experienced by the readers. So again, you're not allowed to subjectify those experiences. So only the real and factual reasons and effects should be presented to your composition. Okay, so in this case, the graphic organizer intended for this pattern is called fishbone diagram. So this is called fishbone because if you will just use your imaginative side, this looks like a fish when you put a half circle here. Usually this is a half circle where it's like the head of the fish. So in this case, they use just a square, and this is where you put the effects. So the effects here, or the effect here, is a bad burger. And all of these are causes or reasons why we have bad burgers. So why do we have bad burger? Because of the machines, the methods, the materials, the personnel, the measurements, and the environments. Under them is their specific reason. Why do we have bad burgers? Because of the measurements. What about measurements? They have incorrect quantity of spices. How about the personnel? They are mishandling the storage and they're training on how to cook and store. So therefore, you will give them causes, or you will connect the causes to the effects by providing them a lot of description why the effect happened. Okay? So this is called fishbone diagram. And then we have comparison and contrast. So when we say comparison and contrast, it's citing similarities and differences. So in this case, you just have to look what is their commonalities and differences in between two ideas or between two objects. So for example, if you will be comparing a man and a lady, what is their similarities? Their similarity is that they are both human. What is their differences? Their differences is they have different biological sexuality, or the biological sexuality that they possess or that they have. So in that case, you have identified their similarities and differences already. So that is called comparison and contrast. So when we say comparison and contrast, the graphic organizer for that is a Venn diagram. So when we say Venn diagram, it's a two overlapping circle with one another. So you will write on the sides, on the different side, the categories intended for the one that you are describing. For example, a tomato. A tomato has red flesh, mushy, and savory, while the apple is white flesh, firm, and sweet. So you write their differences on the side, and on the intersection or in the inside, you write their commonalities or similarities. They are both fruit, they're both round, and they are both smooth-skinned. So in this case, the Venn diagram is the best diagram for common similarities and differences, or the comparison and contrast. And the next one that we have is persuasion. So when we say persuasion, it is to convince the readers. So, okay, you will be persuading the readers to believe on what you are trying to say, on the message that you are trying to convey. So when a text is about persuasion, you are wanting the readers to change their perception or point of view regarding on a certain subject. So it requires the writer to have a strong position and present claims and evidences to support it. So for example, you have death penalty. If you wanted to have a death penalty, then you should have a strong position. Do you believe that death penalty will be effective? Yes or no? You are not allowed to say maybe. Maybe is not an option. Why? How can you sell something if you yourself don't know if you are so sure of what you are selling? Because how will the readers buy the object that or the ideas that you are selling if you are unsure about the things that you are trying to present them? Again, when you use persuasion, the main purpose of persuasion is to persuade the readers to believe on the author's perspective. So you can present claims and evidences. You need to provide support, claims, and evidences so that people or readers will buy whatever you are trying to sell because you have supplied them with things that will make you look respectable and reliable with this kind of information that you are giving. So again, in persuasion, the main purpose of persuasion is to persuade the readers to believe on what the author is trying to say. And the graphic organizer for that is called a persuasion map. So when we say persuasion map, just like here, you start with introduction. In the introduction, you write there your proposition. For example, your proposition is that school classes should start later. For example, at 8 a.m., not 6 a.m. Okay, so that is your proposition. Now, you need to state your reasons. Why is that your proposition? Because I believe students will be active at 8 a.m. so that they can take their breakfast and also so that they can take enough sleep. So in that case, I have presented three main reasons. Now, what I needed to do now is to provide that reasons with example, facts, claims, and evidences so that it would look credible because I have given them examples and evidences. After providing that, you come up with a conclusion. What is your conclusion? That for the benefit of the teenagers, school classes should start at 8 a.m. You just write the conclusion. You just wrap up all the information that you have presented. So in this case, you can have minimum of two main reason and maximum of four main reason. You are not allowed to have one main reason alone. You need to have minimum of two and maximum of four. Okay? And the last one, or the last pattern, or 10th pattern is problem solution pattern of development. This one is somehow confusing because we have a cause and effect. It may not be confusing when I am discussing this, but when you have seen a composition, this is already confusing with the cause and effect. How can you solve this problem? For example, if a composition presents the reason why event happened or why we have this problem, then therefore it's cause and effect only. Reasons and problem only. Okay? But if a composition tells you what is the reason, why do we have this problem, what is the problem, and it provided us a solution, then therefore it is a problem solution pattern of development. You just have to take note that if a composition identifies the problem, locate the problem, understand the problem, and provided a solution, then therefore it is a problem solution pattern of development. And it is usually persuasive writing. So, somehow persuasion. Why? Because you are persuading the readers to do something. Ma'am, what is the difference between persuasion and problem solution? With persuasion, you are persuading the readers to change the way they think, their perspective and their perception. But with a problem solution, you are what? You are persuading them to do something, to act on the solution, to do the solution. So it's not just about changing mind, but doing something for the problem, and that is the solution. So that is the problem solution pattern of development. So the graphic organizer for that is this. This is called problem solution map. So in this case, you write here the problem. For example, the problem is climate change. Or you define. The first box is intended for definition. You define what is climate change. Climate change is the sudden or the extreme heat experience, or the extreme sudden or extreme change of weather. And it is also the rising of sea level. So that is the definition. So what are the causes? The causes can be because a lot of garbage, a lot of people are using plastics because of the vehicular transportation, the melting of glaciers because of the rise of the sea level, and also the increase of greenhouse gases. So what are the effects? The effects are we are receiving extreme heat from the sun because the ozone layer is already thin, and it's becoming thin and thin if we do not do the solution, if we do not do something. So that is the effects, the definition, and the cause to the problem. Now, all of this information, you need to come up with a solution. What is your solution? So, for example, your solution is to plant more trees, to avoid using plastic or materials that can increase greenhouse gases. And also, you can say that we must reduce, reuse, and recycle to prevent the increase of garbage in our country or in the world. So in that case, you have done the solution to the problem by just using the problem solution map. Okay? So that's it for the last pattern of development. We have already discussed 10 patterns. So if you guys have any questions, just send them to the GC and I will answer them immediately. And I will have an activity for you guys in the GC. I will share the composition to you. So kindly go and check to the GC because I still have an activity for you. Okay? So with that being said, goodbye and thank you. And we are done with the patterns of development. And I will see you next week. And good luck on your examination. Bye and God bless.